Hey Eagles fans, this is Mark Lynch, Business Manager of IBEW Local 98 here in Philadelphia. We are proud to be sponsoring tonight's NFL Draft coverage here on 6 ABC. Go Birds!
It's the biggest, most important draft in the history of this Philadelphia football franchise. It will determine the outcome of the season for the next 5 years and beyond before a down is ever played. Welcome to the JAKIB Media Sports NFL Draft Special. Live on 6abc.com from Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Presented by First Trust Bank, the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. IBEW Local 98, 6ABC, and United Healthcare. Let's go, Philly. Let's get this draft show underway. EAGLES. Eagles.
What's good, Eagles fans? This is your guy, DeShields II from the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. This is the JAKIB Sports Draft Special. Wow. So much to talk about, so much to discuss when it comes to your Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, we are locked and loaded for round 2 of the NFL Draft. The Philadelphia Eagles draft pick is coming up very soon. Right now, I believe we're on pick 28 technically, but it would be pick 59, round 2. The Buffalo Bills are up. Their pick is in, but I would love to pick the brain of you Philadelphia Eagles fans so far. Wow. Jalen Carter. What more can you ask for from Howie Roseman at this point? You know, when you really put it into perspective, Howie Roseman entered this draft wanting to get a unique player. And there were so many other players that we had in our mind, right? Of course, Jalen Carter was one of them, but we thought about Will Anderson. We thought about Bijan Robinson. We thought about Tyree Wilson. You know, we thought about guys like that. And some of those guys we didn't actually think would be actually possible to actually snag in the top 10. But Howie Roseman made a move to get Jalen Carter, moved up, traded up to 9, swapped the 10th pick and the 9th pick with the Chicago Bears, and then also sent over a 4th-round pick as well. And then to top it off, at the end of the round, Howie Roseman managed to bring in Nolan Smith, another Georgia Bulldog, at the 30th overall pick. You see, the thing here with me is when it comes to Howie Roseman, he was so calculated. He was so patient. That was what stood out to me the most about his draft board. But I want you guys to smash that like button. I want you guys to stay engaged in the content. Of course, make sure you guys subscribe to the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. And for me, I appreciate you, Stanley. Thank you for locking in on the show. Stanley, AV3, make sure you guys continue to smash that like button and stay engaged. I would love to pick your brains about your Philadelphia Eagles. But some guys that are on my mind right now when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, I would love for them to try to get Keely Ringo. He's someone that I actually thought would actually be gone by now. And another guy that I thought they would actually be able to get was Brian Branch. But Brian Branch dropped further than I thought. I was expecting the Philadelphia Eagles to make some movement on day 2, but they pretty much are staying pat at pick 62. And later on, we're also going to have our guy, John McMullen, giving us the updates when it comes to your Philadelphia Eagles, whoever they pick at pick 62 and whoever they pick at pick 66. So again, I'm thinking about this Eagles team right now as it's currently built. What are the most glaring needs, right? Offensive line, safety, linebacker wouldn't hurt. A running back wouldn't hurt as well. Hence why you guys really wanted Bijan Robinson, and a defensive end. So let's think about what's happening right now. So right now, the Buffalo Bills, they decided to go with Osiris Torrance out of Florida, a guard. He's someone that I was looking at. But right now, pick 60 is up with the Cincinnati Bengals. And after that, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars at 61. And then the Philadelphia Eagles are picking at pick 62. So let's see what we're working with here. Go Sixers, what's going on? AV3, welcome to the show. Again, make sure you guys smash that like button. I've been thinking about the Philadelphia Eagles depth chart. And I'm thinking about the way the offensive line is currently constructed. Obviously, you have Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Right now, Cam Jurgens is slated at right guard, and you have Lane Johnson. But do the Philadelphia Eagles have enough depth right now at the offensive line position? Do they have depth at the tackle spot? Do they have depth at the guard spot? And also, even though Cam Jurgens right now is locked in at the right guard spot, is that a guarantee for him in the long term? Right now, I'm thinking about guys on this board. I'm thinking about Dewar Jones, 6'8". I'm looking at Matthew Bergen out of Syracuse, Steve Avila out of TCU, who played center, Luke Whippler out of Ohio State, who plays center as well. There's a handful of guys that the Philadelphia Eagles could choose from, but it's all about best available. And right now, according to ESPN, some of the best available right now consist of Hendon Hooker at quarterback, Darnell Washington at tight end, Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee, Keely Ringo, like I mentioned, a guy that I would love for them to have. Excuse me, you're right. Joey is already gone. My bad. You guys are correct. Joey is already gone. Trenton Simpson, DeJuan Jones, Cedric Tillman, Marvin Mims, wide receiver. You see, what I'm noticing about this draft is a lot of the wide receivers are really sitting on this draft class. And earlier in the second round, the offensive linemen kind of had a rush. Right now, the Bengals pick is in. I believe they chose, let's double check that really quickly. The Bengals chose DJ Turner out of Michigan, cornerback. I like that pick. I like that. He's 5'11", 178 pounds. I like my corners a little sturdier. They say Turner is well coached and technically sound, who's scheme versatile. He ran the fastest 40-yard dash amongst the corners. Well, actually among any player. Wow, he's the fastest player in this draft. Ran a 4.2 640. And ran the second fastest 10-yard split of any player at the combine. Doesn't have length, but he has the speed to make up for it. Okay. I think that's interesting. I think that's very interesting. But again, what are the Philadelphia Eagles' needs? Offensive line, safety. As it stands right now, the safety position is pretty weak. You have Terrell Edmonds, who they got from the Pittsburgh Steelers, a guy who played about 4 or 5 years with the Steelers, in my opinion. Didn't get a second contract with them. So that's something that you do want to scratch your head about. What is it about Terrell Edmonds that he couldn't get a second contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Could it be that they wanted to get younger? Could it be that they already were paying Minkah Fitzpatrick, so they don't want to lock up big money with the safety position again? On top of that, you have Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship is a player that I like a lot, but Reed Blankenship still has a lot to prove. Nothing is guaranteed when it comes to Reed Blankenship. And you also have Kevon Wallace, a player who was drafted a few years ago in that Jalen Reagor draft, even though I do not want to bring his name up at any point throughout this show. But he was drafted a few years ago. And Kevon Wallace is a player, in my humble opinion, who hasn't really delivered with what we thought we would get from him coming out of Clemson. And then you have Greedy Williams at corner. You have Justin Evans they brought in. You still have Andre Chachere. You have Tristan McCollum. Not really sure who that is. So overall, the Philadelphia Eagles definitely need some DB help. They need some corner depth. They need some safety depth as well. I think at some point, maybe Reed Blankenship could be one of the starters, depending on what they do in this draft and in the offseason. But I think they need to add another safety to create some competition. On top of that, with Darius Slay and James Bradbury being your 30-year-old plus and nearly your 30 and 32-year-old corners, you're probably going to need some depth there as well. And then you got Avonte Maddox, who, in all reality, has been getting hurt quite a lot. So we'll see how this thing goes. The Jacksonville Jaguars are up right now. And then, wow, the Philadelphia Eagles traded. Wow. Okay. This is going to be interesting. So apparently the Philadelphia Eagles traded with the Tennessee Titans. They swapped picks. The Philadelphia Eagles right now have the 66th pick. This stuff is updating in real time. Excuse me. I want to make sure we get all this stuff right. All right, so your Philadelphia Eagles made a trade. They traded back, so obviously they didn't see a player that they wanted, or they're trying to get value for someone. So as it stands right now, the Philadelphia Eagles have, okay, wow, they're going to have back-to-back picks in the third round. This is going to be interesting. Just Mike says, could Ringo play safety? Here's the thing about Ringo. I actually think Ringo could play safety, and this is why. This is exactly why. Keely Ringo, he's 6'2", 207 pounds. He ran a 4.3 640 with a 1.54 10-yard split. So he has speed. He has elite athletic ability. Ringo also is pretty good in man coverage. He's actually best in man coverage, and he defends tight ends and slot receivers very well. He has really great closing speed. His play recognition is pretty top tier. And on top of that, he's really good in zone. He has a lot of length. He's a big body. So I think he's someone who's probably more better suited as safety in the NFL. Maybe not, and also he could play the nickel as well. I wouldn't want Keely Ringo on the outside. He's still very raw. He only started 2 years at Georgia. Doesn't really have the most experience on the field. I believe he was injured and was redshirted his freshman year. I think he had a torn labrum. So Keely Ringo only has 2 years of on-field experience at Georgia. So that's probably something that teams shied away from on top of that with the injury. So with the Philadelphia Eagles trading back, who could they potentially have their eye on? I think they definitely go either offensive lineman or they go DB. That's my mindset with this. They're either going to go offensive lineman or they're going to go defensive back. It's really strange having the Philadelphia Eagles go through this entire draft not having a second round pick. Granted, they had a really strong first round with Jalen Carter, with a Nolan Smith. But trading back out of the second round, I'm curious what they're thinking. Picking back-to-back at 65 and 66. What's the likelihood of that actually happening? And then behind them, you have the Broncos picking back-to-back. So the Houston Texas pick is in. All right, let's see who they're going with. So the Jacksonville Jaguars chose Brenton Strange, tight end out of Penn State. Houston Texans, their pick is in. Wow, they traded back again. This can't be real. Seems like it's going to be a long night for us. It's going to be a long night for us, you guys. Let's see what we're working with here. All right. Stanley Krupinski says, why didn't they draft Joey Porter Jr.? What was the reason for that? Are they afraid of Penn State players? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I believe their mindset was we could probably find better value, and they probably felt like they would reach. I'm not saying Joey Porter is a bad player, but I don't think he's a player that the Philadelphia Eagles really held in high regard. The interesting thing about them trading back is essentially all they did was swap picks. They didn't really get more picks. And that's something I'm concerned about. You have 2 third-round picks, but you don't have any picks in the 4th, 5th, or 6th rounds. That's something to be concerned about. All right, the Houston Texans selected guard. Juice Scruggs, or center, Juice Scruggs. Says here, Scruggs is a versatile interior offensive lineman who played guard and center at Penn State. As a run blocker, he takes sound angles, latches on with big hands, and seals defenders. He's efficient with his hand placement, and he's tough to move when he drops anchor in pass pro. Scruggs doesn't mirror well enough to consistently stay in front of a mobile nose tackle with sudden counters, though. So that's an interesting pick for the Houston Texans. You got a center for C.J. Stroud. Next up is the Denver Broncos. As of right now, the Broncos They need offensive line help as well. They need a running back. They need edge. They need an edge rusher. They need some DBs. And the pick is in for the Broncos. So someone's walking to the podium as we speak. DeMarcus Ware is presenting the pick, Super Bowl 50 champion. All right, there we go. So the picks did come through. All right. So the Philadelphia Eagles did come away with some more picks. Let's look at Twitter to make sure we're all accurate here. The Broncos selected wide receiver Marvin Mims Jr. out of Oklahoma. All right, so here are the trade details. The Houston Texans received the number 62 overall pick, a second rounder. The Philadelphia Eagles received number 65 overall pick, a third rounder. The 188th overall pick, a sixth rounder, and the 230th overall pick, a seventh rounder. So the Philadelphia Eagles decided to trade back, and they did get some picks. They got 2 additional picks. They swapped picks essentially, and they got 2 additional picks. All right, I like that. So, what direction do they go? I'm thinking about offensive linemen. I'm thinking about linebackers. I'm thinking about safeties. So they got 2 additional picks. They got a 6th rounder and another 7th rounder. So as it stands right now, the Philadelphia Eagles have 3 7s, a 6th round pick, and 2 3s. All right, so we're now in the 3rd round. The Chicago Bears have the 1st pick. The Philadelphia Eagles have the 2nd pick. And they have the 2nd and the 3rd pick. So we're going to have 2 back-to-back picks. And this thing is going to happen quick, you guys. Now, what are the odds of the Philadelphia Eagles choosing back-to-back at the 65th and 66th overall pick? What are the odds? So their pick's coming up right now. The Chicago Bears are on the clock, and their pick is in. Their pick is in, so we're waiting for someone to come to the podium. On the offensive line, the best available guards are Chandler Zavala out of NC State, Braden Daniels out of Utah, Saidi So out of Eastern Michigan, Asim Richards out of North Carolina, Anthony Bradford out of LSU. As far as safeties and DBs go, as far as corners, you still have Keely Ringo on the board. So, are we going to draft all Georgia guys right now? Is there a strong chance that the Philadelphia Eagles draft all Georgia talent? I personally am a huge fan of Keely Ringo. Like I said, his technique does have to improve. He does rely heavily on his instincts, and he relies heavily on his athleticism. But his technique can improve, but I think that comes with experience. That's something that you can coach out of him. I would love to have Keely Ringo in the building. As far as safeties go, you still have Jair Brown out of Penn State, Sidney Brown out of Illinois, Jordan Battle out of Alabama, Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. All right, let's see. Just Mike HK says Ringo and Jones. All right, so let me ask you guys this question, right? since we're still waiting on the Philadelphia Eagles to make, so we're still waiting on the Bears to make their selection, and then the Eagles are going to come up after that back to back. I want to ask you guys a question. Who do you guys believe won day one of the NFL draft that's not named the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Because we know the Philadelphia Eagles, again, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, that's pretty much 2 home run picks in my humble opinion. I think I believe you got a lot of value picking Nolan Smith where he was. And then Jalen Carter, him dropping like that, how we mastering the draft board, it took a lot of discipline, in my humble opinion, for him to stay there and not get too trigger happy. Stanley, anybody other than the Eagles? I'm curious to hear what you guys think. MJ says probably Seattle. I'm a huge Devin Witherspoon fan. I didn't expect Devin Witherspoon to be the only corner to go in the top 10. As a matter of fact, I actually expected Christian Gonzalez to go in the top 10 as well, but Christian Gonzalez dropped all the way to, I believe, pick 16. All right, so the Chicago Bears, they decided to go with defensive tackle Zach Pickens out of South Carolina. Now, when it comes to Zach Pickens, 6'4", 290 pounds. As a pass rusher, Pickens is more disruptive than his sack totals would indicate. He is long and explosive with excellent first step, quickness, and good flexibility. Against the run, he's quick and disruptive. Pickens changes directions well when he gets into the backfield and shows good range for an interior defensive lineman when he chooses to pursue. So now the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock. Are they going to stay pat? Are they going to stay still? Picking at 65 and 66. So here we go, you guys. What do you guys think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pick? What positions and what guys are you guys targeting right now? Like I said, I'm aiming for Keely Ringo at DB. That's what I'm aiming at. I'm aiming at Keely Ringo. Could they go DeJuan Jones, the tackle out of Ohio State? Giacomo Fisher says wide receiver Hyatt. I've heard a lot of things about Hyatt as well. Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, 6 feet, 176 pounds. Hyatt is an explosive playmaker with the burst to quickly eat up cushions and the second gear to get behind the coverage. He's at his best running down the deep ball. He's not an ankle breaker. He's not going to break many tackles, but his speed makes him a threat after the catch. He's a hands catcher with the ability to pluck the ball out of the air, but he will drop some passes. Hyatt needs to get stronger and grow as a route runner. So he's a speedster. He's a speedster. All right. The pick is in for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see what we got here. The pick is in. The pick is in. The pick is in, you guys. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. It's so interesting. The Tennessee wide receivers are really hanging around. The starting quarterback for Tennessee, Hendon Hooker's hanging around as well. So I'm really curious to see how this thing pans out for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see. Come on, give me Ringo. Jalen Hyatt, I'd be totally okay with. I'll also be okay with the offensive lineman, but you gotta let me know what's going on, Philadelphia. What will Harry Roseman do? One thing I will say, you guys, the most annoying thing about following the NFL draft, through these networks is the fact that they spend a lot of time talking about nothing. with all due respect to the people that's doing it on the high level. They spend a lot of time talking about things that we don't really care about. We care about the football. We care about everything that's going on in between the lines, right? We don't care about an actor named Heidi Gardner. I'm no offense to her, but I need to know what's going on football-wise. The Philadelphia Eagles pick is in. Let's not draw this out. Let's get through this thing. Let's get through this thing. So right now, again, the Philadelphia Eagles have 2 third-round picks back-to-back, a 6th-round pick, and 3 7th-round picks as well. J North Philly Black says Ringo going to turn out to be a bum. Oh, man. Let's see, you guys. I know you guys are all waiting patiently as well. So, Jason Murdoch, what happened in the 2nd round? The Philadelphia Eagles decided to trade back. The Philadelphia Eagles traded their 62nd overall pick to the Houston Texans. Excuse me. I keep confusing the Tennessee Titans and the Texans. The Philadelphia Eagles traded their number 62 overall pick, 2nd rounder, to the Houston Texans in exchange for the Texans' 65th overall pick in the 3rd round, the 188th pick, a 6th rounder, and the 230th overall pick, a 7th rounder. So the Eagles traded back, and they have 2 picks right now, back to back. All right, so I think we're beginning to move forward here. Let's see. Jason Murdoch's asking, did we get Ringo? Well, listen, here's the problem right now. ESPN is dragging this thing out. I don't mean any harm to the children, but ESPN is dragging this thing out right now. I'm having a hard time trying to keep up with the nonsense when we're trying to talk football. I don't care about Heidi right now. I don't care about these guys talking about anything other than who's coming up next. Could that be the broadcaster in me? I don't know. But I am waiting, and we're all waiting. Impatiently, as a matter of fact. But let me ask you guys this. If the Philadelphia Eagles do decide to draft Jalen Hyatt, what kind of pressure does that put on Quez Watkins? What kind of pressure does that put on the new receiver, Olamide Zaccheaus? What kind of pressure does it put on those guys? All right, let's see what we're doing here. So the Philadelphia Eagles decided to draft offensive lineman Tyler Steen out of Alabama. All right, let's see what we're getting here, you guys. Let's see what we're getting here. Offensive lineman Tyler Steen, 6'6", 321 pounds. He's a big man. It says here Steen is a collegiate offensive tackle who will likely move to guard in the NFL. He gets good initial pop and shows good range as a run blocker. As a pass blocker, he plays with balance and changes directions well. And his shorter arms won't be as much of a concern if he kicks inside. All right, let's see here. The Philadelphia Eagles decided to also draft safety Sidney Brown out of Illinois. Interesting. So you got your safety and you got your offensive lineman here. So they decided to forego Kelee Ringo. I wonder why Kelee Ringo is falling right now. That's the thing. Why is Kelee Ringo falling? But nonetheless, the Philadelphia Eagles drafted their safety and they drafted their offensive lineman, who's most likely going to play guard, 6'6", 321 pounds out of Alabama. Let's try to get some more details on this dude, all right? Let's try to get some more details. Also, in later on the show, we're going to bring in our guy, John McMullen, to provide some context to these players, all right? I want to make sure John has everything he needs to get to the show. How do you guys feel about the picks, though? Let me know. How do you guys feel about these? How do you guys feel about these picks? You got a guard, and you also got a safety. They address 2 needs back to back. 2 needs back to back. How do you guys feel about it? Let's try to get some more information on this guy, Tyler Steen, here. All right, so Tyler Steen, he's a senior. Tyler didn't do the 40-yard dash. He had a 4.59 shuttle, 109-inch broad jump. He bench pressed 31 times, 31 reps. It says here, Tyler Steen from St. Thomas Aquinas High School was rated as a 3-star recruit by ESPN and handed a 3-star grade by 24/7 Sports. Following high school, Tyler Steen opted to join Vanderbilt. In 2019, as a freshman, Steen saw action in 12 games and played a total of 748 snaps for the Commodores. He also allowed a disappointing 17 quarterback hurries, 6 quarterback hits, and 3 sacks while playing at right tackle. Okay, so in 2019, his freshman year at Vanderbilt, he played right tackle, and that closed position for him. So as a sophomore in 2020, he played in 9 games and a total of 630 snaps. He conceded 7 quarterback hurries and 1 quarterback hit and 3 sacks while playing at left tackle. So he played right tackle. He's also played left tackle. Okay. In 2021, as a junior, Steen saw action in 12 games and totaled 838 snaps. He gave up 10 quarterback hurries, no quarterback hits, and 5 sacks while playing at left tackle. So even though he did improve with limiting the quarterback hits, he still has a hard time at giving up sacks right now. So he's been a 4-year starter. After season's end, Steen transferred to Alabama, where as a senior, Steen saw action in 12 games and played a total of 788 snaps for the Crimson Tide. He allowed a disappointing 16 quarterback hurries, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks while playing at left tackle. So this dude is a swing tackle. He's played at left tackle and he's played at right tackle. But he may be more suited as a guard. And that's probably what his weaknesses is right now. So when it comes to his strengths, it says here Tyler Steen has a strong, flexible core and the ability to absorb and anchor against the bull rush as a pass protector. He does a nice job on the second level, moving upfield quickly and showing the flexibility and balance to land blocks in space. He's quick at setting up after the snap and slides well to the outside, staying patient and balanced off the snap. He dips his shoulders and moves his feet to get outside leverage when needed. Strong and low coming out of his stance and is effective in short yardage situations. Okay. So he gets a lot of push. He gets a lot of push. And you're right, Samuel Jackson. They're going to move him at guard. Jeff Stoutland clearly had his hands on this. This guy is versatile. He's played left tackle. He's played right tackle. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to put him at guard, like you guys mentioned. And that's pretty much what the evaluators are saying. He's probably going to be better suited at guard. We have 274 people in this live stream as well for the JAKIB Draft Special. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel as well. Appreciate all the love and support you guys provide to the channel and to myself as well. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. And don't you forget it. All right, so he's also willing to attack and punches multiple times to finish the play. He's quick to pick up edge blitz and shows no panic, easily adjusting angles and resetting his feet. He can recover and reset his anchor, rarely late off the snap. Shows good quickness and flexibility to reach blocks, and he's seen enough, and he has enough range to get out as a puller. I think what I like about him as well, also, he's gotten a lot of snaps here. A lot of snaps. So again, to run down this before we bring in our guy, John McMullen, the Philadelphia Eagles drafted guard Tyler Steen out of Alabama, and they also drafted safety Sidney Brown out of Illinois. So to provide us with some more insight, I want to bring up our guy, John McMullen. He's going to be calling in for us. So let's see what we got here. Hey, John, are you there?
I'm here. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great, John. Pleasure to hear from you as always. Appreciate the work you always do. So please, can you give us the rundown on Tyler Steen, the guard out of Alabama, and Sidney Brown, the safety out of Illinois? But before then, the Philadelphia Eagles decided to trade back out of the second round. Can you provide any insight on that move as well?
Yeah, I mean, they did trade out of the second round, but remember they were late in the second round, obviously second to last. So they only moved down 3 spots, 62 to 65, and they got an extra 6th-round pick and a 7th-round pick on top of it. So now they have a 6th-round pick on day 3, 3 7th-round picks, and we'll see if things change from there. But yeah, I mean, with Steen, it's interesting because he's played only tackle at the college level, and they introduced him as a guard. So that tells you they project him inside a little bit different transfer from Vanderbilt, played 1 year at Alabama, big guy. So still, started out as a defensive lineman, switched to the offensive line. So, but, he played 4 years on the offensive line. So it's an interesting, we knew they wanted to pick up some depth on the offensive line because they lost Isaac Sayamalo in free agency. They lost Andre Dillard in free agency. So you sort of have to replenish, and that made sense. And then, of course, we've been talking about it a lot on Birds 365, everything else here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel, and the fact they needed some more competition at safety. And we'll say I'm a little surprised at Sidney Brown. There were some other safeties, Antonio Johnson, I thought might have been better fits. More of a box safety again, it seems. For whatever reason, that's the talk about Terrell Edmonds as well. So that's sort of his role, but they needed to bring a safety in, and he'll be in the mix with Reed Blankenship, Terrell Edmonds, and Justin Evans. And competition never hurts. So he's also a good special teams player, so he should be able to contribute in that phase right away.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean by that. I'm thinking about these guys, like you mentioned, the competition factor of it. Guys like Kavon Wallace, Reed Blankenship, none of those guys really are surefire starters. You can even say, even though Terrell Edmonds has starting experience, I personally believe that safety position is completely wide open.
Yeah, same here. I mean, Reed Blankenship played very well last season as an undrafted rookie when forced into action due to injury. And he played, it was about 300. I don't have it in front of me, but from memory, about 320, 330 reps, snaps, which is not, it's not a small sample size, but, it's not a large sample size either. So there's reason for some optimism, but I don't think you can just say, okay, we can count on Reed Blankenship. And Terrell Edmonds, he's been a 5-year starter in this league on what has been more often than not, at least a competent defense. So he's at least played in this league and proven he could be an average type starter, and that's helpful. But yeah, I mean, you want more of a splashy type presence like you had last year with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I'm not sure you have it, but again, it never hurts when you throw some competition in the mix. And that's what Sidney Brown will provide.
Now, when it comes to the offensive line, right, you brought in Tyler Steen, and I looked up some information about him, while we were speaking. He, throughout his time at Vanderbilt, even at Alabama, he has given up quite a bit of, quarterback hurries, and he's given up quite a bit of sacks as well. What is it about this guy? What is it about this player that attracted maybe Jeff Stoutland and the Philadelphia Eagles to Tyler Steen? What is it about him that made them want to take a chance with him?
Alabama, Jeff Stoutland is very close to Alabama. He came from Alabama when he came to Philadelphia as a coach on Chip Kelly's staff. It's been that long. But if you remember when Doug Peterson left, there was a report. There's a very strong report from Bruce Feldman that he was going to return to Alabama. So he's very close to Nick Saban. He's inside sort of the pipeline of Alabama. So he knows everything about those players. And, Stout, I mean, he likes players. He sees traits that can translate. You see already how his mind works. He's played, right tackle, left tackle, and they're already announcing him as a guard. So you see, he sees something in those traits in his body and the way he plays that he's better suited inside. And you mentioned some of those issues in pass protection. Maybe he's not cut out for the speed rush, but if you move him inside, all of a sudden you can tap into his strength as a player. You sort of always trust Jeff Stoutland, and right. You kind of know he's going to get the most out of a prospect. And this is we're talking early third round. So this is a guy with some skill, and we'll see how it shakes out. But it should be good depth for the Eagles that needed to replenish that. And obviously they don't need him to play right away, so that
Of
helps.
course. Yeah, it definitely helps, being around guys like Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Kelsey, Mailata. He has a lot of guys around him that can definitely coach him up and help him, essentially round out those raw tools that he has. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, their next pick isn't until the 6th round. Do you see them at any point, I don't know, maybe trading back up into the late 3rd? Do you predict any other movement? We know Harry Roseman is pretty unpredictable. John, you still there? I think we lost John. So
you got me?
Yeah, there we go. Got you, John. All right. So yeah, did you get my question?
Yeah, I heard you. It must have dropped off for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got the wherewithal to move back in here. And this is not the stage where you want to, come in, use a pick from next year to try to get back in at this stage of the game. So you never say never with Howie, so you leave the door open, just a crack at all times. But I don't see it. What he was able to do, obviously, by moving down, getting 2 extra picks, so he'll be able to get some bodies tomorrow and day 3. And he obviously, when he does things like that, that means he's got a cluster of players he feels comfortable with. So when he goes down 3 spots, he knows he's got a group of players, and even if 1 or 2 go in between, he's going to be comfortable with the players he's got on the board, and that's what happened. I don't see it as far as moving back in tonight, and he'll get back at it tomorrow. But overall, if you want to go back to the 1st round, the talent they added there, pretty significant. And now you sort of have the role players early 3rd round. You got some nice depth on the offensive line, and you got another body to compete at safety, which makes sense.
So you mentioned, day 1, right? Bringing in a Jalen Carter, then you bring in Nolan Smith as well. Those guys, especially Nolan Smith, he provides needed depth at that edge rusher position. And Jalen Carter, he provides. We know what he provides from a talent perspective, but that defensive tackle spot and that edge rusher spot just got a little bit deeper, right? What's your predictions in terms of how that rotation may go?
Yeah, it looks tremendous on paper. It just looks ridiculous when you talk about Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham, and now you add Nolan Smith to that mix. That on paper is the deepest sort of, and that's what the Eagles wanted, and that's what they envisioned. You think about last year, and they set the franchise record for sacks with 70, 3rd team in history to do it, only team in NFL history with 4 different guys with 10 or more sacks. They had a great pass rush last year, right. And this one on paper looks even stronger because you have that 4th guy. Remember, the 4th guy last year was supposed to be Jody McDonald's favorite player, Derek Barnett, but he tore his ACL in week 1.
I completely forgot about Derek Barnett, John. Completely forgot about him.
Well, you can now. Derek's probably going to be gone post June 1st, but you never know with injuries and people can get hurt, but and he got hurt last year. They went to Patrick Johnson, and they didn't get what they wanted, and then they traded for Robert Quinn, and obviously they didn't get what they wanted there. So they want to come at you in waves, and now they got that 4th guy, and nobody would have batted an eye if the Eagles drafted Nolan Smith at 10. Nobody would have batted an eye, and they got him at 30. I think a little teams were scared off by his size. He's very undersized, 235-ish. But, he runs a 4.39. He's got this these explosive movement skills. And anybody who saw his press conference today.
Yeah, I watched that.
He is a natural leader. He's got tremendous energy. Tremendous enthusiasm. I think Eagles fans are going to be very happy with Nolan Smith.
You mentioned Nolan Smith's, leadership qualities, right? And I watched that press conference, like you mentioned, and it's clear Jalen Carter leans on Nolan. It's clear Jalen Carter leaned on guys like Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, right? Nakobe Dean was present for Nolan Smith's draft party. So you think about the Philadelphia Eagles kind of becoming Georgia East, I guess you'll say, or the Philadelphia Bulldogs. I know that's been a running joke, but as it stands right now, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, it's a lot of pressure on those guys. Then you bring in Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. There's a fair amount of pressure on those guys as well, especially Jalen Carter, knowing what we know about the off the field issues, right? So, what's your projection for these guys in terms of the production on the field, and also, what's your thoughts on just the overall veteran leadership and the type of team the Philadelphia Eagles have been building with these Georgia players?
I overstated. Obviously, it's really talented guys. I mean, we know the leaders on this team, and it's
Correct.
It's Fletcher Cox, it's Brandon Graham, it's Jason Kelsey, it's Lane Johnson. But you can see the beginning with guys like Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith specifically, and even Jordan Davis to a certain extent. But their time will come. You can see them eventually growing into that role. But that's one of the reasons the Eagles felt comfortable bringing in Jalen Carter. Maybe other teams didn't. The Eagles, believe in their infrastructure, so to speak, and their locker room. And the guys, they know Fletcher Cox is going to be in the same room with Jalen Carter every day. And Tracy Rocker is the position coach, and he's played the game at a high level in the SEC, so he's got tremendous cachet from that. He's a veteran coach; he's been around for a long time. They have a lot of confidence that they can handle situations like this, and I mean Smith though, and Dean specifically, those guys exude leadership, but they're still very young players, and that'll come down the road, but you can see it developing already.
Yeah, you bring up a good point down the road, right? You're going to slowly start to see a changing of the guard. I mean, we have no idea, what Brandon Graham has left in the tank. This could potentially be his last season, maybe. I know he's been trying to get to that 15-year mark. I know that's a goal of his. And then you have Fletcher Cox, who's pretty much, again, another guy who's on the year-to-year rental. Jason Kelsey, another guy that's on the year-to-year rental as well. And, you mentioned another thing, the post-June 1st cuts. What do you anticipate being one of the moves the Philadelphia Eagles make around that time?
I don't think you're going to see a lot of cuts from their perspective. Derek Barnett might be one because of what they did. I think there'll be, you might see the Eagles going that route to bolster their roster with veteran players. If a veteran running back gets cut, something of that nature, the James Bradbury type signings, June 1st, salary cap casualties. They'll be on the lookout for that. It's always, and Howie Roseman always says, talent gathering season goes farther than free agency, farther than the draft, goes all the way up to the trade deadline. So he's always looking to improve this team.
So I'm thinking, right? The Philadelphia Eagles, they love to attack that time they love to attack that area when it comes to finding players who I think we lost John. All right, so let's go back here. I think John lost his connection. So, all right, there we go. So we lost John. John actually has to go for conference calls. He's going to pretty much chat with these new players, these new Philadelphia Eagles. But there we go. All right, I think we got John back. Let's try to see what we got here. All right.
I was trying to hit the thing. I gotta hit conference calls here to meet the new players, but I just wanted to hop back on. and say goodbye to the listeners. And thanks for sticking with us here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube page. Yeah, going to be Tyler Steen and Cindy Brown here in a few minutes.
All right, John, thank you so much for your time and your effort, my man. You go in and do your thing.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, you guys, there you have it. John McMullen with the inside scoop when it comes to Tyler Steen and Sydney Brown, the offensive tackle and the safety, respectively. Tyler Steen coming out of Alabama and Sydney Brown coming out of Illinois, a Big Ten guy and an SEC guy. The Philadelphia Eagles are really starting to lock in on the SEC and the Big Ten, but really the SEC. Think about the players they have on offense right now in the SEC. They have Jalen Hurts. They have Landon Dickerson. They have Devontae Smith, right? There's a lot of, and now they have Tyler Steen, a guy who's probably going to be a swing guard, most likely. But again, you see the transition. You see where Howie Roseman is going with this, right? He's not just picking random guys out of random conferences. He's sticking with the SEC, and I like that. You bring in the Georgia guys with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Those two guys, especially Nolan Smith, he's a culture setter. What I got from John in that conversation is the fact that Nolan Smith, he's a natural leader, and you could potentially see Nolan Smith become that new Brandon Graham. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. But again, you're beginning to see the changing of the guard, right? And if Jalen Carter can be everything that we expect him to be, man, like I don't think we're really, wow. The New York Giants drafted Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. All right. A guy with a lot of speed. But nonetheless, when you think about what the Philadelphia Eagles have done and what they plan to do, really consider this here. I don't think we're really talking about this enough. The Philadelphia Eagles potentially got the best player in the NFL draft. Really, really allow that to sit with you for a moment. Jalen Carter, on many people's draft boards, was considered to be the best player in the NFL draft. Some draft boards had him second to Will Anderson. Some draft boards had him third to Will Anderson and Bijan Robinson. You know, take your pick. But the Philadelphia Eagles, 9 times out of 10, got the best player in the NFL draft, and they coupled him with a top 15, top 10 talent in Nolan Smith, a guy who did drop in the draft. But this is something to behold. And I'm really excited about this because this provides a lot of opportunity for a lot of guys. I'm curious to see how Jordan Davis responds. Like I mentioned to John, there's a lot of pressure on Jordan Davis. There's a lot of pressure on the Kobe Dean to come in and make a name for themselves. Remind you, Jordan Davis didn't play that many snaps last year. The Kobe Dean barely saw the field. So when you weigh all those variables together, this is an important time for those guys. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, we're expecting Jalen Carter to come in and make noise right away. I'm going to be curious to see how he conducts himself in training camp because remember, they did say he did come in overweight for his pro day. And let me be completely frank with you guys about this. I'm not really a pro day champion, right? I don't really put too much stock in pro days. I don't put too much stock in combines because that stuff at the end of the day is not field work. It's not in-game action. I like to see what the tape shows me. But overall, again, you guys, this has been a hell of a draft so far. In round 1, the Philadelphia Eagles made out with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. In round 3, they made out with Tyler Steen and Sydney Brown. So overall, man, this has been spectacular, you guys. I want you to smash that like button. I want you guys to always remain engaged on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. You guys have been locked in on the JAKIB Sports Draft Special. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry. Take care, you guys.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.